So greetings, everybody. My name is Ani Gellis. I'm the program manager at Live Baltimore. And thank you so much for joining us for this Schools 101 presentation called Demystifying the Pre-K Enrollment Process. A little bit about me. I recently began at Live Baltimore, and I have a pre-K student in my own household, so know this topic well. This is a webinar, not a meeting, so your mic and camera is off, and as you can see, the chat is disabled, but you're welcome to share questions in the Q&A, and we will get to as many of those as possible. Our agenda for the evening is we will have a presentation first, and then time for Q&A. And as you can tell, this is being recorded. And yes, this is being recorded, and we will share out that link after the webinar. You will also be receiving a survey, and your feedback is really important. So please take a look for that in your inbox. All right, so just a little bit of background on our organization, Live Baltimore. You may have seen this iconic image all over the town. Live Baltimore supports city living, both renters and buyers. We really seek to retain city residents and attract city residents. So we have a lot of great resources on our website, livebaltimore.com, and we can share the link in the chat. So whether you are looking for a home, or you know someone that is, or you just want to learn about different neighborhoods, we have a lot of great information to check out. And if you are in the market for a new home, I did want to mention we have our trolley tour coming up. You may have heard of that. That's an annual home buying fair, bus tour, workshops, and it also qualifies you for a $5,000 incentive. So that's coming up on May 11th, and we can share more info about that as well. I also wanted to bring your attention to the schools portion of the website, maybe of interest for you folks this evening. We have a map of different types of schools in the city. So if you're kind of browsing, you want to look at a neighborhood and rather than alphabetically, that could be a good visual for you. And we also have some profiles of different schools, on our website. So that's another great tool out there for you. We also have something that's called the School Options Guide for Your City Kid that was just recently updated to reflect these new changes to the pre-K process. So as you can see, this top row is all about city schools pre-K, but this guide could take you all the way to high school. So that's available on our website, and we will be getting some hard copies as well. So take a look at that. So I am delighted this evening to be joined by Betsy Decker. She has been with Baltimore City Schools for 15 years, including 6 as an educational associate in City Schools early learning programs, birth to 5. Her primary focus is working with families across the city to encourage school readiness. So without further ado, Betsy, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Betsy, and I'm at City Schools. I work in the Office of Early Learning, mostly doing family engagement, but also a whole bunch of other things. And I am also the parent of a soon-to-be 4-year-old, so I'm going through this process right alongside you, navigating all of the regular stuff along with the changes to our system this year. So let me share my screen here. And there we go. So this year we are getting ready to rock and enroll in pre-K, and we have a few things that have remained the same and a couple of things that are different from past years. If you have been involved with this process before, you've heard it, kind of around over the last few years. First of all, our pre-K in Baltimore City is full day and has been for quite a long time. It's free for all families. It includes breakfast and lunch. Our class sizes are capped at 20 kids, and our curriculum is all around play and exploration-based learning. Any child who lives in Baltimore City and is 4 years old by September 1st can enroll in pre-K. Our enrollment process this year. So if you've been around here for a while, then you might have seen that there were 2 windows for enrollment, the priority 1 and priority 2. That's changing quite a bit this year. This is not an application to be admitted to pre-K, but rather an application for location. There is space for anyone who wants to have a seat in Baltimore City pre-K. However, class sizes are capped at 20 students, and schools only have so much physical space to host pre-K classrooms. So you will get a spot in pre-K, but it may or may not be at your zoned school. Our first window of applications is from April 2nd to May 15th. Starting on April 2nd, you can log on to baltimorecityschools.org/SEMS or page SEMS, that both of those will work, to fill out an application for your child. When you are in that application, you're going to upload all of your required documents, which we'll get into a little bit further later. And this year, one of the new things that you can do is select up to 5 schools that you would like to attend in order of your preference. And then after you've done all of those things, you can submit your application. From May 15th to May 31st, the district office employees will be going through all of the applications to check for accuracy and completeness. And then each application will be run through an algorithm that will place students in schools. There's a variety of MSDE and board approved criteria that are going to put students in an order and assign them to a school. On May 31st, placement offers will begin to be sent out through SEMS. That's the student enrollment management system that you placed your application through. And from May 31st to June 15th, you can choose to accept, decline, or join a centralized waitlist. Once you accept your offer, your child will be enrolled. And if you apply during this first application window, it opens up a lot of opportunities for your family over the summer. You can connect with your new school through the end of the school year, participate in events that are just for pre-K families, and then your child is eligible to participate in our summer program for rising pre-K and kindergarten students called Camp Curiosity. We have, I believe, 10 locations this year, and they are listed on the summer portion of the city schools website. The application for that is open right now for current pre-K students who are rising kindergarten, and the application for Camp Curiosity for rising pre-K students will open on June 1st. So if you're familiar with how the process to enroll in school has worked in the past, then you might be wondering where that priority went. It's still here, but instead of staggering when families can begin enrolling, we've worked that priority criteria into the algorithm that determines where students are placed for pre-K. So now everyone can begin enrolling on April 2nd, giving schools and families more time to connect and develop relationships before the current school year ends, and still ensure that pre-K is accessible to the families who need it most. So if you missed that first round of enrollment, or you are unhappy with the placement that occurred in that first round, you can re-enter the application. You can re-enter the application pool on June 3rd for our second window of pre-K applications. From June 3rd to July 15th, the process will be exactly the same as the first round, where you fill out the application, you upload all your documents. If you did that in the first part and you're just reapplying, you won't need to do it again. Just resubmit your name. Then the application will run, or the algorithm will run all of the applications through, sort through students, put them into schools, and on August 2nd, placement offers will be sent out through SEMS. Families can choose to accept, decline, or join that centralized waitlist. This time the waitlist period will be much shorter because we're trying to get families into school, enrolled, ready to go, with a couple of weeks left before school begins at the end of August. So what if for some reason you missed both of those application windows? Maybe you are just moving here, or you're gone for the whole summer, although that is certainly a benefit of this being completely online. You can do it from anywhere. If you miss those windows, or for whatever reason they don't work out, you can enroll directly through the Office of Enrollment Choice and Transfer. And here I've listed their phone number. It's 410-396-8600. They have open hours to the public Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 4. And in the summer, they typically do open up some extended hours. And then if you have any questions regarding this entire process, we do have a new staff member. Her name is Keo Monique Martin, and she is focused on early learning and first-time enrollees. You can reach out to her with any questions and support that you might need through this process. I've listed her email address here, and in any follow-up information, we'll be sure to send that contact information as well. So one of the exciting parts of the application this year is that you do get to list which schools you are interested in attending. And we do still recommend that you start with your zoned school. That one's going to be the one that's easiest for you to get to every day. That's the one that you have neighborhood kids in, and the one that you have developed a relationship with the community, in your child's first 4 years of life. But if your zone school is full, you can use the school finder to look for schools around your neighborhood. We have a lot of schools in Baltimore, so you're never too far away from another one. Look around the neighborhood where you live and the neighborhood where you work. Another way to choose another school is to visit pre-K open houses, check out school websites, and look at their social media. Not all schools have the capacity at this time to be hosting in-person events, but their social media really gives a great window into what's happening at the school, all the way from events that they're hosting for their enrolled students to what their building is like, staff interviews, all different kinds of things pop up on school social media. So I really encourage you to check that out. As you're thinking about what schools to list, you're not just thinking about, programs and location, but also your transportation and school start and end times. I know that last year we did have a big shakeup in our start and end times, along with our bus transportation. We've had, lots of shifts in the makeup of city schools in the last few years and where buses needed to go. We don't anticipate that there will be that big shift this year. If there's any changes, they should be really minor. So checking in on the start and end times of school, the bell schedule, now should be pretty accurate. So I did want to show you the school finder in case you have not seen that yet. I'm going to switch over to the city schools website. When you navigate to baltimorecityschools.org, on every page, you're going to see our city schools logo and then a schools button. When you click on schools, this is the page that comes up. You can search specifically for a school to find out more information about that school, but you can also look for a school around your home or your workplace by clicking on this link here. Okay. So when that comes up, you can see the whole city here, and all of these dots are schools. There are a lot. So start by typing in an address. We're going to use 200 East North Avenue. And we come up here with Dallas F. Nichols. But you can see that if Dallas was full, there's a whole bunch of other schools around here. You got Cecil, Margaret Brent, lots of things that are right in that same neighborhood, Dorothy I. Height, Mount Royal. But, say that that's not going to work out, or commute's too long or anything else. Maybe those school times don't work with your work schedule. You can just type in a different address and come up with a whole different set of schools. So let's say this is where I work. Over here, I have Lakewood Elementary. Right nearby is Henderson Hopkins, Tench Tillman, William Paca, Dr. Bernard Harris. We have a lot of options. And as you click on each result, you can see more information about them by clicking on their school profile. You can find out what the grade bands are, their school leader, all kinds of performance that's happened there, and then you can navigate to the school-specific website. So as you're searching, we definitely encourage you to go in person to schools wherever you can, check out their social media, their websites, and as you are trying to figure out what schools you might want to look at, this is a really great resource. Right. So as you get ready to enroll in the next couple of weeks, there's a whole bunch of documentation that you need, although less for the online application than you'll need at the actual point of enrollment later in the summer. So to start your online application, what you need is proof of student identity and age. That comes in the form of a birth certificate or other government issued document. You'll need proof of parent or guardian identity. That's a photo ID of the adult who is enrolling the child. And only a parent or a guardian, legal guardian, can enroll a child. You can't send your neighbor to enroll your kids. You'll need 2 proofs of address. A proof of address can be a utility bill, a deed to your house, your mortgage statement, your lease agreement, a tax bill, a pay stub, and a whole bunch more things that are listed on the city schools website. You will need 2 of those. We do list utility bill, and that means water, electric, gas. A cell phone bill does not count as a proof of address. You'll need proofs of income. Depending on which you choose to provide, you'll need either 1 or 2. Pay stubs, tax return, approval for WIC, SNAP, temporary cash assistance, proof of unemployment. And there's a whole lot of other things that we accept. We're very flexible here. And then those are the 4 things that you need to fill out your application. To upload those, you're going to snap a picture of it and just make sure that everything is clear, centered, and then you will just upload it straight into the application. The application is computer, tablet, and phone friendly. Once you have accepted your offer and told your school that you are coming, you will need to bring your child's latest physical documentation and records of their immunizations over to the school, as well as any documents you might have, like proof of custody, academic records if they're transferring from somewhere else, or an IEP, IFSP, or 504 documents. I want to hop back to the proofs of income real quick. We do need proof of income from every person enrolling for pre-K. The reason for that is the way that the pre-K program is funded is by the state, and we as city schools have to submit that income information to the state. Some of it is to show the participation of Priority 1 families in our pre-K programs so that they're effective and impactful. The rest of it is for planning for future years because the state covers the cost of Priority 1 families and a little bit more as the blueprint increases, but the rest of that cost is covered by city schools. And I know that also many of you have seen the WIPR article about charging parents for city schools or for pre-K at city schools and pre-K throughout the state. In fact, at this time, city schools does not have plans to pass that cost to parents. City schools has covered that cost for a really long time. And with the blueprint information, it's actually costing the city less because now we're being reimbursed for more. So we're actually really excited about that. And at least for this year, definitely don't worry about having to pay for public pre-K. So if you're looking at all of this information and thinking, my child is ready for kindergarten, they're not 5 yet, but they're ready. The state law says that kids must be 5 by September 1st to enroll in kindergarten. There is a small window of exception for children whose birthdays fall between September 2nd and October 15th. Those kids will have to complete an assessment to demonstrate readiness for kindergarten. Because once those kids arrive in kindergarten, we really want them to thrive. We don't want them to be struggling at all. And our pre-K programs are super flexible and really meet the needs of kids wherever they are. So we do require, well, the state requires an assessment for kids entering pre-K or kindergarten early. To sign up for that assessment, you do have to apply. The application for early entry to pre-K is open from April 2nd to May 15th, which is the same as that first application window for pre-K. It'll be on the city schools website once it is open. It's not up there yet. And then once you apply, you'll be contacted within a couple weeks with a test date. The testing will occur after school ends, and you'll be notified shortly thereafter whether your child will be entering kindergarten or will go to pre-K. Because of the timing of that assessment and the other things that need to happen for pre-K and kindergarten, we strongly suggest that you enroll in pre-K, even if you're planning for your child to go to kindergarten. That way your space is saved if for any reason they do not end up moving into kindergarten for the fall. We have a similar situation for children who turn 4 after September 1st, but would like to enter pre-K this year. Again, according to state law, children must be 4 by September 1 to enroll in pre-K. Like the kindergarten policy, children with birthdays between September 2nd and October 15th can apply for a waiver to enter pre-K early. There's not an assessment for pre-K, but families still do have to fill out an application and indicate why they believe that their child is ready for pre-K. That application opens later. It's open from August 1st to August 15th. And again, that will be up on the city schools website when the window is open. If your child enters pre-K early, or they have done pre-K this year on a waiver, they do not automatically go to kindergarten the following year. If they enter pre-K before they are age eligible, they have to complete the assessment for kindergarten at the end of pre-K to go to kindergarten the following year. And if they do not demonstrate kindergarten readiness on that assessment, then they will repeat pre-K. So now I'd like to give you, actually, should we stop right here for questions? Do we have any? Okay, yeah, I'm going to pause right here before we look at the system itself for a couple of questions. Can you tell me a couple?
Betsy, I'm happy to share some.
That would be great.
Yeah, one, could you clarify if all kids are guaranteed a spot in pre-K?
All kids are guaranteed a spot in pre-K.
Great.
It may not be at your zone school because we do not want 47 kids in a pre-K classroom. And, school buildings are only so big, so they can only fit as many pre-Ks as there are rooms, and rooms appropriate for pre-K students. So yes, they will absolutely have a spot in pre-K. It may not be in your zone school.
Excellent.
Mhm.
And this may be coming up in the system, but could you share a little more details about the algorithm? What goes into the order of preference, or are you doing that next?
So that's not part of this, but
Okay.
there are a number of factors that go into that algorithm, and it's the typical priority things. It's income, IEP or IFSP, homelessness, multilingual learner, and then like school, I say zones, but like more broadly, zone of Baltimore, whether you have a sibling enrolled, age eligibility, I believe those are all of the things. And then, it's like if there's like a combination of factors and, one goes above the other.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What about April 2nd? What time does that open? Does it matter if someone does it on April 3rd or on May 12th? Does that factor into their, okay.
It doesn't. And that's a little bit, I will get into that here. But no, and in fact, that's part of what we're trying to alleviate here. In addition to making a more equitable process for all families, we really don't want people like camping out overnight in front of school. When when the application opens, it will be open. It'll stay open from April 2nd until May 15th, and you have that entire 6-week period to fill out your application and submit it. At any time during that 6 weeks, you can go in, change things, add things, reorder your school preference anytime. And then when that window closes, everybody gets thrown in the pot and shuffled around according to that algorithm, and then given the opportunity to enroll at one of our schools.
Let's see. And then another question was about ranking those 5. Do you need to list 5? Do they need to be in order? How can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So you can list up to 5. You do not have to list 5. We do recommend that you list 3, just in case, because pre-K is very popular and getting more popular each year. And we want to ensure that even if you don't grab one of the spots in your neighborhood school, that you still are able to get to school every day and it's convenient for you and your family. And so we do recommend that you pick at least 3, but you can pick up to 5. When you're in that system, you can drag them up and down, 1 to 5 to indicate your preference. If you truly have no preference, then put in them whatever order. But if you have any feelings at all about, which school you'd take over another, then do put them in order, because that will be factored in with the algorithm. You know, if you're selecting something if you give something more priority over, if you give one school more priority over another, and then another person does the opposite, but you really wanted that school and they really wanted this school, you're going to get the wrong one, if that makes sense. So yes, put them in order.
Okay. And what about if a family gets into a pre-K that's not their zone school, can they continue there into kindergarten and beyond?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then what about for proof of income? Is that for one parent or both?
It's household.
Great. All right, now I have not checked the questions for a moment, so let's see here.
These are great questions. Thank you for asking.
Uh, let's see. Could you talk a little bit more about sibling preference? There was quite a few questions about sibling preference. Is there
Sure.
anything else to know about?
I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot to that. It's, you know, if you and another family are both, let's say, priority one and live in the neighborhood, and one has a sibling and one doesn't, the family with the sibling would take priority over the other.
But they're not necessarily guaranteed a spot if they have a sibling there, right?
They are not guaranteed, unfortunately, because again, it's a space issue.
Great.
Mhm.
Let's see. And how do you know if a school is full?
Well, this year, because we are doing everybody's applications all at the same time, the algorithm's going to figure out the fullness for us. But part of the benefit of this is that you as families don't have to figure out which schools are full. The only ones that are going to show up on the application in the second round are the ones that have space. And then afterwards, there will be wait lists for schools that are full, and then the rest will continue to show up in the system where you can apply. So you don't have to spend time calling around to schools and trying to figure out who's got space.
And then there was a question about charters. Could you share your insights there?
So with the switchover from one system to the next, we are in a little bit different spot with charters from what we usually are. And so each of the charter schools does have their own process still going for this year. Some have already completed that process and some are just beginning. So if you are interested in a charter school, please check in with those schools individually.
So what about if someone didn't like their placement that they received around, March 31st? What should they do to, try again?
So on May 31st, if you get a placement that was not ideal, first of all, it will be one of the schools that you selected, or you just don't match at all. But selecting 5 schools, you will get matched with one of them. But if you are unhappy with it, or for whatever reason you didn't match, one of the options in your offer will be to re-enter the pool for the second round. You also will have the option to join a wait list, and that's all going to happen right in the same spot. So that application that you filled out is going to have buttons right in it where you can push accept, decline, wait list, and you'll be able to do that all in one spot very easily.
And what about 3-year-old programs?
What about 3-year-old programs? Is that the whole question?
Will this webinar cover the 3-year-old programs?
In that we have them, yes. So City Schools does have 10 locations of half-day 3-year-old programs. Those are actually special education programs, but for one of them, well, for those 10 locations, we enroll what we call typical peers, and those are just any 3-year-olds who are in Baltimore City and would like to come to half-day 3-year-old programming. It is a 2.5-hour long program, and it follows the bell schedule at the school in which it is located. You can find those 10 locations. They're pinned to the top of our Facebook page, but I can also send that flyer out in the communication after this webinar. But I actually, if that's something that your family can manage, I really recommend doing one of those programs. My daughter was enrolled in one of them this year, and well, we're in the middle of the year. And it really has been like such a joy to watch how she grows and interacts with her peers. It's been a really wonderful experience.
Could you discuss priority 1 versus 2? Is there a certain amount broken out that each classroom is made up of? Or how does that work?
No. So, I mean, yes, I can discuss it. So yeah, we've talked a little bit now about what priority 1 and 2 are. The families who qualify for priority 1 are the families for whom pre-K was designed, and those are low incomes, families experiencing homelessness, children with IEPs, IFSPs, and multilingual learners. Those students will always get priority when applying for pre-K because of the way that pre-K is funded and because of the intent of pre-K. There's no like capped amount of priority 1 students who will be enrolled. If in theory, a school were to completely fill up with priority 1 students in the first round, that could happen. But in most, if not all cases, we will see that there's space for all students. But again, this is that any family will get a spot. It may not be in your zone school, and that is true for both priority 1 and priority 2 families.
And finally, a couple more questions about the health records, especially lead testing. Do they have through the summer to submit that? I think you mentioned it goes to the school, not in this application window. And does it have to be within a certain amount of time?
So you do have to submit health records, including the lead test. That'll be like right on the health form. You can get those health forms on the city schools website, or you can just Google Maryland School Health Form, and the immunization record. Both of those forms are available. You do not have to upload those forms with your initial application, which I will say for myself was a huge relief, realizing that this opens in 2 weeks and I have not talked to my doctor yet, my pediatrician yet. But those forms will go to the school, and you do have all the way until the very first day of school to submit those forms. Having said that, I do not recommend that you wait until the first day of school to turn in those forms. You do have to show proof of immunization or some kind of exemption to enter school on the first day. Well, you don't just show it on the first day. You have to give it to them before the first day of school. So the sooner you can get those records to your school, the better, but you do have the summer. I know there's a lot of people doing their 4-year-old appointments before school starts.
And back to the priority, that's universal, not just by school, right? If someone's priority 1, they're priority 1 at any school.
Yes.
Any school. Okay.
Yep, that's actually those numbers are actually determined by the state, by federal poverty level. So we have no control over that at city schools level at all.
Speaking of which, what qualifies as low income?
Is it 300% this year? Yeah, it's 300% of the federal poverty level. There is a chart that is typically posted on the city schools website. I'm not sure if it's been updated for this year, but you can look up the federal poverty level for Maryland, and 300% of that is the cap.
And what about if you don't go to your zone school for pre-K, but you do want to go there for kindergarten? How would that process work?
Yes. You, when the application process opens again next year, you will just fill out the application for that school.
And it's a similar process, right?
It is a similar
yes.
process. Yes.
Yeah. All right. I need to catch up on some questions. Do you want to continue with the presentation for a little bit, and then we'll come back for some more?
Sure thing. Sounds great. So let's take a little bit of a look at the Student Enrollment Management System, the SEMS Parent Portal. If you had anything to do with middle and high school choice this year, it is the same portal, but we are hoping that since we made the big kids do it first, we've worked out all the problems and it will be really wonderful. So to access the SEMS homepage, you're going to go to baltimorecityschools.org/SEMS. That's a /SEMS. You will create an account by clicking the button that says create an account. Or if you have already been in the system because you have a middle or high school choice baby, then you just sign in. I did go in last week for myself and I was able to create an account, but I did not get any further. You set up your account, parent guardian information, and then contact information. Please do make sure that the email address that you put in there is accurate so that you can receive all the communication around all of this enrollment stuff, get your links. After you verify your email address, you'll be prompted to create a password. They have to be 8 characters in length and include a special character, uppercase, and a special character, an uppercase character, and a digit. Then you will either go in and link to children who are already in the system, but I would guess that for most of the people in this webinar, you're going to fall under the folks who need to add a child. If you don't already have a child enrolled in city schools, then you need to click this Add a Child button. You will enter information about your student in there, their name, address, all of those wonderful things, birth date. And then you'll be able to link them to you in the system. When you go in to link a student who's already in the system, sometimes the parent birth date doesn't match, and in that case you can put in the student ID. But if you're adding a new student for the first time, then you don't have to worry about that part. Once they are in the system, a button will appear next to their name. We have screenshots from middle and high school choice, but yours will say apply for pre-K or kindergarten. And you click on that link and it will bring you right to the application. Once you're in there, it looks like a lot, but it's really not that much. The first page of the application will display demographic information. It should be the same thing that you just put in if you were adding a student. Just make sure that all of that is correct. The next page will ask you to verify your residence. You can edit there, but again, if you just put your child's information in, then it is likely correct. This is where you will have to upload proof of address. And remember, for address, there are 2 proofs that need to be uploaded. Then you'll go in and make your selection on schools, and you can drag from the right side of the screen into the left side of the screen, and then within these 5 spots here, you can drag up and down to indicate order of preference. There is another screen that will happen in here that we do not yet have a picture of, and that is where you will indicate income and upload those proofs of income. And then when you get to the end, you will review all the information that you have entered and hit that submit button. Once the application is submitted, you'll be taken back to the home page where you can edit, delete, or print receipt for your application. And as I mentioned earlier, you have that entire 6-week window. It's open for you to go in and edit. So if you maybe visited a school that you hadn't thought about before, you can go in and add it. Or if you've changed your mind about maybe the commute that you want to make each day, you can go in and shift your schools around. For that entire 6-week period, it closes for good for the first window on May 15th. And that's the entire portal. It's pretty simple, and we're hoping for no glitches as we go through. But if you have any questions as you're doing this, please feel free to reach out to the enrollment office, to Kia Monique Martin, and to our social media. We have an Instagram and a Facebook, and through both of those, you can send questions through the chat and we're happy to answer. And if we don't know, we're happy to find out. Please just be patient because we're learning this system too. And that second half was pretty quick. We have any new questions?
We do have more questions.
Okay.
What about someone whose child will probably, they are being evaluated for their IEP, but don't have it yet? How would that factor in here?
There's a lot of contributing factors there. If you already have an IFSP, then you already qualify as priority 1. If you are in process for an IEP, you can check in there. If you're reasonably certain that they're going to qualify, check that they have an IEP, and you can start uploading those documents. And as we go through those documents to check for accuracy and clarity and completeness, we will be able to see if that child does in fact have an IEP, and if it's coming up unclear, then somebody from the enrollment office will reach out to you to find out more about that specific situation.
Great. And could you recap, does living in the zone for school, is that an order of, or does that help with your preference for being enrolled in that school?
We always encourage families to choose their zone school first.
Okay.
It's an influencing factor.
An infant. Okay, great. All right. What about if someone hasn't completed their 2023 taxes yet? Could they submit their 2022 taxes as a proof of income?
I have no idea. I would say
All
choose
right.
another proof of income.
All right. All right. And what about are there certain spots held or reserved for the second round?
There are no spots held. Um, there, no, there are no spots held for the second round. There will be movement between schools. So even if something is looking full at the end, it may not be by the time the second round comes around. And that's, I mean, no, we're not holding any spots.
All right. What about if someone is planning a move, say between now and the beginning of the school year? They should list that information now. Sorry, that was my dog.
That's fine. You have to upload proof of residency. So if you have proof of whatever address you have proof of residency for, that's what you should upload now. You can always change that in the system later. And of course, having this opportunity to rank your preference for school is going to be huge for situations like that. You know, choose the school that you will be in zone for once you've moved.
Do you happen to know what percentage of, say, pre-K students have an IEP?
I do not off the top of my head. That information is available, but that's not something that I just know.
Do you have to go to the school that you get into?
No, you can choose to decline that offer if you choose to, and then re-enter the pool or join a wait list.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Now I'm going to be catching up on reading some of these questions. So 1 second.
Fine.
Are there certain number of spots for families applying? Okay, so for that, the children turning 4 between September and October, is there a certain number of spots set aside for them?
No, so those are not spots that we hold. Those spots pre-K is first for age eligible children. So if age eligible children fill up those spots, then there are no spots for students who do not qualify by age after. But we have plenty of spots in pre-K. So as long as you're flexible with location, which I would be at the schools, the pre-Ks are really excellent throughout the city. Then there will be a spot. I do want to add one thing there, that the pre-K waiver is only for families who qualify as priority 1. And again, that's a state thing, that's not us. So those date cutoffs, that qualification criteria, that's all set by MSDE.
All right, so how about a few questions about the portal itself now? So should only one parent create an account, or should, if we're a 2-parent household, should both create accounts?
Just create one account.
Just one. Okay.
Yeah, you will add if you can add another parent, and actually you can add multiple family members to your account once you are in there. But yeah, just don't complicate things. Make one account.
Okay. So these are getting technical, so let's see here. Someone, on the application tried to it asked what school the child attended previously, and they're in pre-K, and there's no option to skip it.
So I actually went in and tried to do this myself. As I mentioned, I've got my own kiddo coming up, so I wanted to be ahead of the game. Just fill out the information, and you cannot. Because there are some questions you can't get past yet that will be updated by April 2nd. And I assume that the question asking where you were before here will go away. However, as you are enrolling in school, you will be asked what your child's prior care was. So please do think about that. And there's a myriad of options, but accuracy in that reporting is really important because it impacts our data later on. So please know if you went to a private nursery, a childcare, a Head Start, if they were at home with family, if they were in a home daycare, just keep that information in your pocket because it will be important later.
Okay, so there is a question, should they list a daycare as a previous school? When did
I'm
the
gonna
student
have to
first go
get
to
back
school?
to you
Okay.
on that answer. I'm for right now, I wait until April 1st to fill out that application because it may change and I don't want you to have wasted time filling out something that'll just be erased.
Mhm.
I don't know that that will happen, but I don't know that it won't.
Okay. And what about for a family who speaks another language at home? How do they demonstrate that?
So first of all, there is an opportunity to fill out that application in many languages. So when you get in there, there's a spot that you can click for other languages. That probably would be an indicator that they speak a different language in the home. But within the application, there's a home language survey, which is always how we have looked for families who need support with that extra language or who has just do speak another language in the home. It will ask what your child's first language is. It will ask what language they use most frequently and which language they are most comfortable with. And the answers to that, determine whether they are considered a multilingual learner. And when school begins, there is an assessment for students who are learning English for the first time. And students who have indicated they speak a different language in home will do that assessment to see if they need any language supports while they're in school.
Great. Could you speak to aftercare? How do families find out about that? How do they sign up? And do all pre-K schools offer aftercare?
I so wish that I could say more about aftercare, especially as I am in this boat with you. Unfortunately, city schools as an educational institution does not manage before and after care. It's on a school by school basis. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of them is that our neighborhoods are all very different from each other. There's different needs, there's different bell times, different families, different situations. So each school contracts their own before and after care. And whether that means that they have staff members who are paid to be there before and after, or they work with an outside vendor, or they work with busing to go to another childcare location, that's up to the school itself. The best way to find out is talking to schools. And unfortunately, at this time of year, there's going to be a lot who don't quite know yet because it's quite a while out that they would be making those they would be contracting those services. Now, lots of them have plans because they've been working with the same vendors for years. So I definitely encourage you to reach out, but unfortunately, that is not a one of the things that the district manages.
Okay. So if your family does not get into your top choice, is there any chance there'll be movement, like other folks maybe declining or moving, and then you could get in?
There is, and we actually anticipate that we're going to see, and not a lot, but some of that within the first rounds, especially since this is new and people are kind of feeling out this, that, and the other thing, and that you may not have had the opportunity to visit all of these schools before you did your application. So yes, after that first round, there sure will be movement, and again, we're going to have that centralized wait list. So right in that same portal that you filled out the application, that you accepted or declined your schools, you can join a wait list. And from what I understand, you can accept an offer and also join a wait list. And I believe you can join more than one.
That's helpful to know. Do schools have any involvement in this enrollment process?
Once you accept your offer, you will bring your documents to the school and they will upload those and let you know if there's anything else that you need.
They're not playing a role in the ranking or
Nope.
in, yeah.
Nope, they're not. The only thing that may happen at the school level is if you're having any trouble with the application online, then you can go to the school, and we have been talking to enrollment officials about supporting families through that process. We know there are neighborhoods where like Wi-Fi is really spotty, and so you might want to go to the school to complete your application there. Um, or, you just might have a question. You open up a question, you're like, what is this? So in that way, schools will be involved, but not like they have in the past, where they are enrolling folks directly into the system as they come into the school. This is all being done centrally.
And I think we've touched on this before, but can you recap? If your child is enrolled at a pre-K program, does that mean they're automatically enrolled at the same school for kindergarten and above?
At the end of the year, students who are enrolled in pre-K automatically roll over in the system to kindergarten, and at this time, it is at the same school.
All right, question about the centralized waiting list. Does that mean you get offers for spots throughout the city, or it's a centralized place to be on the wait list for multiple schools?
That one, I think. It's the wait list is in a central location in that you do it all in one spot, but the wait lists are for individual schools.
Okay. And where do you recommend families research the quality of a school's pre-K program? Any kind of ratings or rankings?
We do. So, okay, there's a lot to this. We do caution that when you look at like the great schools ratings or any of that, there's a lot that goes into that. And there's also history, and communities change over time, schools change over time, leadership, teachers, lots of things. So when you do look at that, please do take them with a grain of salt. The best way to get to know a program is to go see it. So in the next month, a lot of schools are opening up their buildings for open houses, and many of them are pre-K focused. We really encourage you to go to those. If you're not seeing one listed, please call the school and find out. You can always ask to schedule a tour. And check out school websites, look at their social media. It really does give you a good window into what's happening there. But then also, every single one of our pre-K programs right now is working toward Maryland state accreditation, which is an indicator of high quality programming. And all of our schools are very close. One of the things that I have to do for my position is that I go around to schools and I check out their classrooms. There are a lot of things that we're looking for, and I will say that as I'm going through them, I really have been very impressed with the pre-K programs at every school that I've gone to. The curriculum is the same across the board. We have teachers who are working to better themselves in every way. We have professional development for teachers and paraeducators throughout the city. And we're really on track for great things. This also is really demonstrated in our kindergarten readiness data, which has skyrocketed this year. So we hope that you've seen that in the news. But our pre-K programming is really contributing to that. So again, wherever you go in the city, it's going to be lovely, but do visit those schools wherever you can.
All right, I'm moving back in time. Missed quite a few questions here. With the SEMS portal, the issue with the street names that it came up with the high school choice, has that been resolved?
I hope so. We are working with an outside vendor, and they're aware of the problem. Goodness, I hope it's been fixed for middle and high school by now. But yeah, like I said, we made the big kids do it first so that it could be great by the time that we do it.
Great. A couple of IEP questions. If your child has an IEP, do you still need to submit a copy with your application?
No, we have access to those through our system. When you go to enroll in school, if you are moving locations, we do recommend that you bring that documentation with you, just in case anything has gotten lost in translation, but that's a statewide system, so we should be able to pull that information.
Great. And if someone has submitted a child find referral but hasn't been evaluated yet, if they do end up needing an IEP, does that mean they will get a spot at a zoned pre-K?
No. So Simply qualifying for priority one does not guarantee you a spot in your zoned pre-K. Nobody is guaranteed for their zone. But it does guarantee you a spot in pre-K. Now, having said that, there's a variety of level of needs for special education services. And so depending on the level of need, that can influence the school which your student will attend. For most students, you're going to end up just going to either your zone school or a school that you have been given an offer to. But for some, depending on the level of need, again, you'll be assigned a classroom because some programs only exist at certain schools.
All right. And if you move out of your zone later, or if you move, I guess, at all, can the child continue at that school that they've been attending?
Yes. So long as you're not like an attendance issue or something else that would indicate that you need support closer to your home.
And could you clarify, does your zone school have to take your student for kindergarten?
So we have some changes this year, and I'm not sure of the answer to that question. But please do write that one down, and I will do my best to get an answer for you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Do you have a sense of what percentage of people get their preferred schools?
I don't, because we've never done this before.
What?
I hope all of you do.
Does being a homeowner make a difference in the selection process?
Yeah.
Is the kindergarten enrollment process the same as pre-K but without the priorities?
It does seem to be the case this year, yes.
All right. All right, so back to the 5 schools. You list 5 schools, but only get 1 offer. The other 4 schools, would you have to re-enter in the second round if you didn't get your first choice? Or can you waitlist those 4 schools that you didn't get?
You can waitlist those 4 schools. Now, you might not get an offer from the waitlist before the second round begins. So if you are unhappy with the one that you got and you'd like to try to get an offer to one of your other schools, then you can re-enter the pool. But when you re-enter the pool, you are giving up your original spot. So you can choose to remain on the wait list and see if anything opens up after the second round, or you can try to re-enter the pool.
Speaking of the waiting list, do you know what number you are on that waiting list?
I don't believe so.
Is there any way to learn more about the curriculum and also recess or other resources?
So the curriculum, we are big shakeup. So we are in the middle of a process of acquiring a new curriculum for pre-K. There's not a whole lot that I can say about it right now because I don't know what it is. We're still in that process. But once we do select a curriculum, we will be overjoyed to share that information with you. Last year, we asked for family and community input, so we really have taken a lot of that into account as we're looking. It's going to be play-based. It is going to be child-centered. It's going to be a lot of fun, regardless of what we pick. But at this time, we don't know. Fingers crossed it's soon. Keep watching board meetings.
Is there a list somewhere that shows how many pre-K classes are at each school?
I don't think so. No, there's not.
Okay. Alrighty. And I do know it's just about 9 o'clock, so we still have a couple more questions. I know some folks might need to jump off, but we will try to go a couple more minutes to
Anything
finish
we
this
don't
up.
get here too, like feel free to send my way and I'm happy to answer or find out answers and share too.
I also may have missed some back in the earlier part, so my apologies if I can't get to all of this. Let's see. Do you know if they can submit a 1040 as a proof of income?
I do not, but a great person to ask about that would be our new enrollment specialist, Kimoni Martin. Please just shoot her an email and ask that question.
Great. All right. I know this has come up before, but let's go over it one more time. If you don't go to your zone school for pre-K, can you get into your zone school for kindergarten the following year? How would you switch schools?
So you would switch schools by, well, there's two ways. You will automatically be rolled over to kindergarten. When the enrollment process comes up again in the following year, you can apply again. And if it remains the same as it is this year, then for kindergarten, you will also be able to select schools in order of preference and list your zone school as your first choice. And you also could wait until the transfer window, which is in the middle of the summer, and you can transfer from your current school in which you are enrolled in pre-K to your zone school where you would like to go to kindergarten.
Great. Back to the waiting list. If you don't want the school that you matched with originally, do you give up that spot when you go into the rematch pool?
From what I understand, yes. But joining a wait list does not give up your spot.
Okay. And is it better to stay on a waiting list or reapply? Which takes precedence?
I believe the wait, I better not say that. I don't know. That's a question I'm going to have to come back to.
Okay. And is there a way to see how many spots are left at schools after the first round?
No.
Okay. Could you be placed in a school that you don't include on your list?
I don't believe that we are doing that. It'll either be that you match with one of the schools that you listed or you don't match.
All right. And would they get in trouble for only putting one school?
No, you will not get in trouble, but there's a chance then that you don't match.
All right. I think that is the bulk of them.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I did want to share just a few top takeaways. Suggested that everyone, regardless of your priority level, apply in this first round, which is starting on April 2nd, but goes all the way till May 15th. And it doesn't make a difference if you're the first one to put the paperwork in or the last. The income information is by household. All the documents are listed on the website. So if you didn't catch them tonight, that's fine. You can look it up. But that is required by the State Department of Education. And all pre-K programs in the city are great. So it's great, as Betsy said, to get out and see some classrooms and see them online, see what's happening. Rank your top 5, but really all pre-K programs will be great for your child. All right, so if you have additional questions, I know you have our contact info, and Live Baltimore will be sending an email to all registrants tomorrow that will include the link to the recording, and you can review all the contact information and all of that at that time. All right, thank you all for sticking around this evening. You guys had a lot of great questions, and I know we're looking forward to pre-K just in a couple weeks, this enrollment period. All right, thank you, Betsy. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Have a
so
good one,
much.
everybody.